What's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're gonna be doing something a little bit different. I'm gonna show you guys somebody else's build and Martin is gonna be helping them with their header and their exhaust. Let's get right to it. So this car belongs to Josh Brew from Final Thrill. He's a good friend of ours, and after seeing Martin's car work for the last year or so, Josh decided that what he wanted to do with his S13 was to put a Beams engine in it. However, Josh didn't necessarily have the big budget to do the turbo and the engine modifications that Martin did and do kind of the same exact build. So he decided to do a more budget version of the build and just put the stock Beams engine in with NA, exactly how it comes, the original wiring and everything. So the entire point behind what Josh is aiming for on this build is a cheap, reliable 200 horsepower drift car. So currently you can still buy the Beams engines, the 3S GE Blacktop, the exact same model as this, for right around $2,000. For the engine and transmission. And as Martin has shown many times over, the transmission will hold up. Martin is pushing well over 400 wheel and is still able to use the stock 6-speed transmission that comes with it. So with this 200 horsepower stock engine, it'll last all the clutch kicking he could do. The first step for Josh was to buy our engine and transmission mount kit, which if you guys see is up in there. So for an initial investment of less than $3,000, he could mount his engine and have a good 200 horsepower engine mounted. Josh and his friends at Final Thrill were able to actually do a lot of this build in their garage at home for cheap. And with this engine completely stock, he'll still be able to make well over 200 horsepower, and it will be much cheaper than getting an SR20 or some other similar engine that have gone way up in price due to high demand after people have blown theirs up. Clearly the car is not done. Josh still has a bit of work to do. Currently Martin is going to help him finish up the exhaust. Martin is going to be making use of the original headers from the car and just making a new exhaust from the downpipe back. It makes it a lot easier when you don't have to redesign the headers and do measurements for header length and all of that kind of stuff. Being able to use the original OEM headers will be really helpful for Josh and for Martin. What Martin is going to do now is make use of this original OEM header and then cut right here and make the downpipe a removable V-band setup that then mounts to Josh's original KA exhaust that he already had. Again, this is just a really easy, cheap, reliable way to have a good exhaust system that he already had. And a lot of this is able to be done, at home, as long as you have a welder and somebody that knows what they're doing. So the bonus of being able to use the OEM header is that because this engine and the actual, especially the top end of this engine, the head and the headers are both designed by Yamaha. You can see it says Yamaha right here on the front. So everything is actually really, really good, and the headers are all equal length headers, which is great for both power and for sound. So it'll be great to be able to use these original headers, save money, not have to build new ones. And Josh will be able to have everything that he wants in this car. So like I said, Josh is actually making use of the original OEM 3S transmission, which means he's also using our beam swap transmission mounts, which again, like we've said on our website, actually makes use of the original rubber here. So you have the more OEM feel, it's softer, it's more usable on the street, and it's not hard mounted like a full-blown race car. So Martin has made the first piece of his downpipe. Basically the idea is that Martin wants to be able to have removable downpipes to make it much easier to get the header off. If you have a one-piece header to downpipe, it makes it much harder to be able to take everything apart and work on your car. Yamaha kicks ass, dude.
Well, Nakamura's a D1 car right now. Well, it's sponsored, but it's S13 with 2 JG. Yeah. And he's been loving that, so.
We made use of the original headers, which I told you guys before, but Martin decided it would be smart to have V-bands here for the downpipes to be able to take the downpipes themselves off before taking the header out. Number one, it allows you to use the OEM header and make it look more stock, but also be able to take everything apart easier and work on the car for serviceability. This is the original flange here that Martin cut off that went to the original downpipe and to the exhaust. And now we have two modern V-bands. This little section here is for the steering shaft to clear. The steering shaft goes right here in this section and will now clear easily. Now with the headers mounted, Martin is able to move on and start planning out how he wants to run the downpipes to meet them to the rest of the exhaust that I showed you guys earlier. So Martin is going to have to make the downpipes meet to this flange here and run from these two V-mounts past the steering shaft and over to the back of the car. So this is Martin's initial plan to merge the two. So the headers are two separate pipes that are merged together, and then Martin is going to merge them into one and then have that go into the exhaust. So on this car, the headers are 2-inch, and Martin is going to continue to run 2-inch until he merges, and then he's going to step up to 2.5, and then from there he's going to run to the exhaust, which is a 3-inch exhaust. The reason that Martin is not stepping it up earlier and going to 3-inch is because this car is going to stay NA. If it was a turbo car, we would need to breathe a lot better, which means we would be going up to 3-inch much earlier and run the whole system as 3-inch. So now that he's finished the third Y in his tri-Y setup, Martin is going to install the Y onto these two pipes here and then be able to make the final piece of the exhaust to run here. So Martin got the tri-Y system all hooked up. Now he's got to run one pipe from there to there to connect the rest of the exhaust system. Like we said before, this is running 2.5-inch now, and it's going to run 2.5 from here, and then Martin's fabbed up this step up that goes right onto this flange from 2.5 to 3-inch to run for the rest of the exhaust. So Martin has finished up the last pipe that he needs. Again, this is going to be put on with the copper anti-seize and V-bands, and then on this side it's going to have this flange that we showed you guys earlier, which is just 2 bolts to hold it together. Once Martin has his whole system installed, we'll probably do a little bit of testing, start the car, let it idle, let it warm up, rev it a little bit, and then maybe go for a little bit of driving.